The alien emperor promised him riches. He chose the human girl, trapped for centuries. The human starship HSS Horizon dropped out of FTL near a dying blue star. Its engines hummed softly, but the bridge was filled with tension. Every officer stared at the giant shape floating ahead of them, a shining palace made of living glass and bending light. It was the luminous citadel, home of the VYR Dominion, one of the oldest and most powerful alien empires in the galaxy. Captain Elias Ward stood at the front window, hands tight behind his back. This mission would decide Earth's future. Their colonies were failing, their energy supplies were breaking down, and their leaders had begged him to secure a miracle. The VYR were that miracle. Captain, Envoy Mirasol said from her console, the Citadel is sending us a flight path. They want us to follow exactly. Elias nodded. Follow it. No mistakes. Not today. The horizon moved through a tunnel of twisting light toward the palace. Strange shapes swam across the Citadel's surface, patterns that looked alive, like they were watching. Lieutenant Cade Imani whispered under his breath, "Feels like the whole place is staring at us." Dr. Hannah Ruiz, the team scientist, pressed her face close to the glass. "This architecture is impossible. The physics, they're not normal." Elias didn't look away from the palace. "Stay focused. Remember why we're here." When the ship docked, a soft vibration ran through the floor. The doors opened to reveal tall VYR attendants with glowing skin that shifted between silver and blue. Their voices were soft, but carried great weight. "Captain Elias Ward of Earth. The Emperor waits. Follow us." The humans walked through halls where gravity twisted. Waterfalls flowed sideways. Plants floated like balloons. The entire palace felt like a dream trying to become real. Hannah kept gasping at every turn, but Elias stayed sharp. Negotiations with the VYR were known to be dangerous. One wrong word could start a war. At last, they entered the throne chamber. It was the largest room Elias had ever seen, big enough to hold a small moon. Stars shone through openings in the walls. And at the center, on a raised platform, sat Emperor Vorash. He rose when the humans approached. His body seemed made of shifting armor and light. Power moved around him like a storm barely under control. "Captain Ward," the Emperor said, his voice deep and smooth. "Humanity is young, reckless, yet you travel the stars. You survive. That interests me." Elias bowed slightly, just as the diplomats had taught him. "Your Majesty, we come in peace. Earth hopes to build a future with the VYR Dominion." Vorash studied him with ancient, unreadable eyes. Then, with a simple gesture, he filled the air with glowing images. Human cities restored. Dying colonies healed. Endless energy flowing into Earth's broken systems. Ships stronger than anything humans had ever imagined. Gasps filled the room. Even Elias couldn't stop his heart from racing. "All this," the Emperor said, "I offer freely. Your species may rise hundreds of years overnight." Mira whispered, This could save billions." Elias forced himself to breathe slowly. "What do you want in return?" Vorash smiled. The temperature in the chamber seemed to fall. "Only one thing," he said softly. "Bring me a human. A man named Dr. Jonah Kessler." Elias felt something shift inside him. A cold warning. Why one man? Why him? Something was wrong. Very wrong. And as he looked around the shimmering room, he felt the first spark of fear. For Earth, for his crew, and for whatever truth hid behind this impossible throne of light. Captain Elias Ward tried to stay calm, but the Emperor's request felt wrong in a deep, heavy way. Dr. Jonah Kessler was a quiet scientist on Earth. Brilliant, yes, but harmless. Why would an ancient ruler want only him? Before Elias could ask, the Emperor turned his head slightly, almost as if he sensed the question forming. "You wonder why," Vorash said. "Why one man matters so much." His voice echoed across the long hall, bouncing through the living crystal walls like a soft command. Then, with a gesture, he projected an image into the air, a glowing strand of shifting quantum lines. "Kessler sees this," the Emperor explained. "Not with machines. With his mind. He is rare." Hannah's eyes widened. "A natural quantum perceiver?" Vorash nodded slowly. "We have searched for such minds for centuries." Elias felt his stomach twist. The Emperor didn't want Kessler as a partner. He wanted him as a tool, maybe even as property. But before he could speak, something behind the throne caught his attention. A small shape, half hidden in shadow. A soft glow. A figure. He stepped slightly to the side and froze. It was a woman, suspended inside a tall crystal prism, hair floating like she was underwater, eyes open, not dead, not alive, frozen in a moment that never ended. Her face held a silent scream. Elias felt the air leave his lungs. "Your Majesty, who is that?" For the first time, Vorash did not answer immediately. His perfect calm cracked just slightly. "That," the Emperor said at last, "is a convict. A relic. Her existence is not relevant to our discussion." But Elias couldn't look away. The woman's uniform was old, older than any used today. The letters on her chest plate were faded but still readable. Lyra Quinn. Hannah gasped. "Captain, I know that name." She pulled up her tablet, fingers moving fast. She was part of the first silent contact mission with the VYR Dominion, sent 220 years ago. Official reports said her ship was destroyed. Vorash spoke coldly. The reports lied. She stole a fragment of the core relic, the heart of our star engine. For that, she was sentenced. Elias stared at Lyra, her eyes wide, trapped in fear for centuries. "How long has she been in there?" he asked quietly. Vorash answered without emotion. 220 years. Her mind remains aware. Her punishment is eternal. Hannah covered her mouth, horrified. "She's been conscious this whole time?" "Yes." The simple word felt like a hammer. Elias moved closer to the prism. Lyra's gaze seemed fixed on him, pleading, begging, silent for centuries. He spoke without thinking. "Why would she steal from you?" Vorash's voice sharpened. "Her reasons do not matter. She broke sacred law, but eternal punishment." Elias whispered. "For curiosity?" Vorash's eyes flashed. "Do not speak of what you do not understand, human." Mira stepped beside Elias. "Captain, we need to focus. Millions on Earth depend on this treaty." Elias knew she was right. Billions could be saved if he simply accepted the Emperor's offer. One human life compared to the entire future of Earth. One woman already forgotten. That was the easy choice. But when he looked at Lyra, frozen and terrified for centuries, he felt something inside him snap into place, like a line drawn in the sand of his heart. He turned back toward the Emperor. "Your Majesty," he said, voice steady. "If we are to make a deal, there is something else I want." The hall went silent. Vorash tilted his head. "And what is that, Captain Ward?" Elias lifted his hand and pointed directly at the crystal prism. "I want her," he said. "I want Lyra Quinn." The room erupted instantly, VYR guards shouting, colors flaring violently along their skin. The Emperor did not move. He simply stared, the air around him shimmering with a cold energy. "You dare," Vorash whispered, "to ask for the release of my prisoner? A thief who touched the heart of my empire." Elias didn't step back. "You asked for a human," he said. "Now I ask for one too." Myra's eyes widened. Hannah stared in shock. Even the guards froze. For the first time since their arrival, Emperor Vorash smiled, slow, dangerous, and filled with ancient curiosity. "How interesting," he said at last. "How very human." He leaned forward on his throne. "Then let us see how far you are willing to go for this request, Captain Elias Ward." The throne chamber still shook from the VYR guards' angry shouts. Their glowing skin flashed harsh reds and deep blues, colors that meant danger. But Captain Elias Ward did not move. He stood tall, eyes locked on Emperor Vorash. Lyra Quinn's crystal prism hummed behind the throne, casting faint light across the floor like a warning. Elias could almost feel her silent fear, trapped in that frozen moment for 2 centuries. Vorash finally lifted one hand. Instantly, the chamber fell silent. No guard dared breathe. "Captain Ward," the Emperor said slowly, "you surprise me. You refuse riches, power, and salvation for your world, and instead ask for the freedom of a criminal." "She's human," Elias replied, "and she was left behind. That matters." Vorash tilted his head. "One life against billions?" "Humans don't trade people," Elias said. His voice did not shake. Mira whispered urgently, "Captain, think carefully." But Elias did not look away from the Emperor. Vorash stepped down from his throne, each movement smooth like water bending around him. "Your spirit is bold, but boldness is often foolish." He walked past Elias and stood before Lyra's prison. His hand hovered over the glowing surface. "She stole from my empire," Vorash said. "A fragment of the core relic. A piece of our soul. You asked me to erase her punishment. Why? Elias answered softly. Because punishment without mercy becomes cruelty. Because 200 years is enough. Because she was curious, not evil. And because no one deserves to be forgotten in the dark. The emperor turned. There was something unreadable in his ancient eyes. Was it anger? Amusement? Or something deeper? You refuse my offer, Vorash said. You refuse the exchange I requested. Very well. His voice sharpened. Then hear my counteroffer. The guards stepped forward, surrounding the humans. I will give you Lyra Quinn, Vorash said, in exchange for Dr. Jonah Kessler, and 5 more humans of my choosing. Mira gasped. Hannah's hand flew to her mouth. Even the guards seemed shocked. 6 humans, Vorash repeated. Their minds are useful. Their skills valuable. Give them to me, and the prisoner is yours. Elias felt heat rise in his chest. You want to collect humans like tools. Vorash smiled faintly. Every species collects what it needs. You collect minerals, planets, data. I collect minds. No, Elias said immediately. Absolutely not. Think carefully, Vorash warned. You protect one woman, but you doom billions. Your world dissolves while you cling to a single life. Elias' jaw tightened. If our survival depends on selling people, then we've already lost. The room vibrated with tension. The Emperor's colors darkened, swirling like a storm. Then you reject my generosity? Vorash asked. I reject the idea that humans are currency, Elias answered. Hannah whispered. Captain, there must be another way. And then her eyes widened. She pulled up her tablet, scrolling fast, scanning ancient VYR texts she had copied earlier. Captain, she breathed. There is another way. A forgotten one. Vorash turned his head. What are you searching, little scholar? Hannah swallowed hard. An old VYR law, nearly erased from the records. Something called the Trial of Essence. The room froze. Even the guard stiffened. Vorash stared at her with dangerous interest. How do you know that name? It says, Hannah continued carefully, that any prisoner, no matter their crime, may have their sentence challenged if a champion faces the trial in their place. If the champion succeeds, the prisoner goes free. Elias' heart hammered. A dangerous idea formed. Vorash's voice dropped to a cold whisper. That law is ancient. No human has ever attempted the trial. Most who step into it never return. Elias stepped forward. I invoke it. Mira nearly shouted, Elias, no. But it was too late. His voice rang across the chamber with absolute clarity. I invoke the Trial of Essence for Lyra Quinn. The hall erupted. Guards roared. Advisors whispered in shock. Colors exploded across the walls. Vorash stood perfectly still. Slowly, a chilling smile formed on his face. How fascinating, he said. A human calling upon our oldest law. Very well, Captain Ward. If you wish to gamble your mind, your spirit, and your very soul for one forgotten woman, I accept. Lyra's prism hummed louder, as if reacting to the decision. Vorash lifted his arm. At dawn, he declared, you will enter the trial. If you pass, she is free. If you fail, your body and mind will be sealed beside hers forever. He leaned close. Let us discover, Vorash murmured, what a human's worth truly is. The VYR guards led the humans out of the throne chamber in silence. The moment the crystal doors closed, Mira finally spoke, her voice sharp with fear. Elias, what have you done? They were taken to a guest suite that looked like a palace itself. Floating lamps, soft gravity, golden light. But none of them felt comfort. The moment the guards left, Mira turned on him. You invoked a trial you know nothing about, she shouted. Do you understand the danger? The last species that attempted it lost 3 champions in a single day. Kate added, this isn't bravery. It's suicide. Elias didn't respond immediately. He walked to the wide window where the stars bent around the citadel like flowing rivers. His reflection looked older than it had that morning. Hannah placed her tablet down carefully. Captain, she said softly, the Trial of Essence isn't a physical test. It attacks your memories, your fears, your beliefs. Some say it can break your mind beyond repair. Elias nodded slowly. I know, but you still agreed. Mira cried. For a woman you've never even spoken to. Elias closed his eyes, took a breath, and finally turned toward them. She's been trapped in that prism for 200 years, he said quietly. Her mind awake. Alone. Forgotten. And our ancestors allowed it. They didn't fight for her. He shook his head. I can't let that happen again. Silence filled the room. A heavy, painful silence. Kate exhaled hard. Billions could pay the price if you die. Elias met his gaze. Billions will pay the price if we start trading people to save ourselves. That path destroys us slowly. One deal at a time. Hannah sat down slowly, absorbing his words. Mira looked away, jaw tight with anger and fear. A soft ringing sound came from the door. When it slid open, something none of them expected stood outside. A VYR healer. Tall, silver-skinned, carrying a sphere of moving light. I am Healer Vanny, she said. The Emperor sends me to prepare your mind for the trial. We don't trust your preparations, Mira muttered. Vanny ignored her. She stepped directly toward Elias, the sphere in her hands glowing brighter. You face a trial that consumes the weak, the healer said. If you are unprepared, your thoughts will collapse like dust. What exactly will happen? Elias asked. Vanny's eyes glowed softly. Your mind will enter visions shaped from your memories. Your fears, your guilt, your truths. The trial will show you your hidden self. Many cannot bear what they see. Hannah swallowed. And if he fails? His mind becomes frozen, like the woman you call Lyra Quinn. The room went silent again. Vanny looked at Elias. May I scan you? Elias nodded. The healer pressed the sphere to his forehead. Light rippled around his head like gentle waves. She frowned. You carry grief, she said. Loss, regrets. These will be used against you. Elias didn't flinch. I expected that. Vanny lowered the sphere. You also carry something else. Something unusual for humans. What is it? Hannah asked. Conviction, the healer said. Not confidence. Conviction. A dangerous kind. It may be your only protection. Then she stepped back, the sphere folding into itself like a dying star. At dawn, guards will come for you, she said. I suggest you rest. Though rest will not help you. She left without another word. When the door closed, the humans stood in stunned silence. After a long moment, Hannah broke it. Captain, if you go into that trial and don't come out, what happens to us? Elias sat down, slowly, heavily. You return home. You tell Earth the truth. You make sure Lyra isn't forgotten again. Mira whispered. You're really ready to die for this. Elias looked at the stars again, remembering the hollow eyes of the frozen woman. It's not about dying, he said softly. It's about what happens if we stop caring about each other. If we become the kind of species that leaves people behind. Hannah wiped her eyes. Cade lowered his head. Mira walked to the corner of the room and stood quietly, breathing shakily. One by one, the team drifted off to their rooms, but none of them truly slept. Elias stayed awake, watching the stars, thinking about Lyra, thinking about the trial, thinking about the line he had drawn in front of an ancient emperor. At one point, he closed his eyes and whispered, I hope I'm not wrong. When dawn approached, golden light began to glow across the room's ceiling like a slow sunrise. A deep bell rang through the citadel, a sound that seemed to vibrate inside the bones. The trial was calling. Cade and Mira stepped out of their rooms, faces pale. Hannah clutched her tablet like a lifeline. The door slid open, and two VYR guards waited outside, silent, glowing, unmoving. Captain Elias Ward, one said, the Emperor awaits. Elias stood, straightened his uniform, looked once more at his crew. I'll see you on the other side, he said quietly. Whether it was hope or a lie, no one knew. And then he followed the guards toward the trial chamber, toward a test that no human had ever survived. Captain Elias Ward followed the two VYR guards down a long corridor made of shifting crystal. The walls pulsed softly, like the palace itself was breathing. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the floor wanted to pull him backward. The guard stopped before a tall door carved with swirling symbols. This is the Chamber of Essence, one said. Once you enter, nothing we do can help you. The doors opened. Elias stepped inside alone. The chamber was huge and empty. No throne, no guards, no furniture. Just a floor of glowing glass and a ceiling full of floating stars. At the center of the room stood Emperor Vorash, hands folded calmly behind his back. Beside him floated Lyra Quinn's crystal prism, her frozen eyes still wide with silent terror. Vorash turned as Elias entered. Captain Ward, he said, you stand where only warriors of ancient races once dared to stand. Most never returned. Elias didn't speak. His eyes went to Lyra. Vorash noticed. Her fate now lies in your hands. If you fail, she remains frozen forever. And you, his voice softened to a dangerous whisper. You will take her place. He raised his hand. The floor exploded with blinding white light. Elias gasped, and suddenly the chamber vanished. The first test, the fire of choices. Elias found himself standing on the bridge of the HSS Horizon. But everything was wrong. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the air. Sparks rained from broken panels. Through the front window, dozens of VYR warships surrounded them. Weapons charged. The ship shuddered with every blast. Captain, Cade shouted. They demand we surrender Lyra Quinn, or they will destroy us. Mira grabbed his arm, panic in her eyes. Elias, please. We will die if we don't give her to them. Hannah ran to him with tears in her eyes. We have families, Captain. Do not throw our lives away. Elias felt his chest tighten. This wasn't real, but it felt real. Too real. On the screen, a countdown began. 20 seconds. 19. 18. Captain. Cade shouted again. Make the call. Elias looked at them, his crew, his friends. Then he said quietly, I will not hand over a human to be used or punished. Not today. Not ever. Mira screamed, You're dooming us. The screen flashed white. Everything shattered. The second test, the life that could have been. When the world reformed, Elias stood in a quiet mountain cabin. Warm sunlight filled the room. The smell of fresh bread drifted from the kitchen. Laughter echoed from another room. His heart stopped. His sister, who died years ago, stood at the stove, smiling at him with the same gentle smile he thought he would never see again. Eli, she asked softly, you're home early. His throat tightened. This wasn't possible. Then his nephew ran up and hugged him, alive, laughing, warm. Elias felt tears in his eyes. He could barely breathe. You don't need to go back to space, his sister said, stepping close. Stay here. Stay with us. Forget the girl in the prism. Forget the Emperor. Forget all of it. Snowfall drifted outside. The world felt peaceful, perfect. Too perfect. His sister's eyes softened. Choose us, Eli. Choose the life you lost. Elias closed his eyes. This was the hardest temptation of all. The life he wanted. The people he loved. A second chance. He opened his eyes slowly. I love you, he whispered. But you're not real. None of this is real. The cabin dissolved. His sister reached out as she faded, whispering, Then who will choose you when you're gone? And then she vanished. The third test, the enemy within. Darkness swallowed him. Elias found himself standing in front of himself. But older, tired, hardened, wearing a cracked captain's uniform, eyes full of blame. So, the older Elias said, You chose your morals. He stepped closer, voice cold. You saved one woman and let entire colonies fall. You refused alien help and left millions suffering. Is one frozen stranger really worth the weight of a dying humanity? Images flashed around them. Broken colonies. Crying families. A medical crisis Earth couldn't solve. Ships failing. People begging for help that never came. The older Elias pointed at him. You did this. You doomed them. Elias felt like his heart was tearing, but he held his ground. No, he whispered. I gave humanity a chance to rise without selling souls. We'll struggle, yes, but we'll do it honestly. Together. Older Elias laughed bitterly. Good intentions won't save lives. No, Elias said softly. But our humanity will. Silence fell. The older Elias stared at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Then you understand the cost, he said. You carry the burden. He dissolved into light. The trial's verdict. The chamber snapped back around him. Elias collapsed to his knees, shaking and breathless. Vorash stood above him, eyes glowing with interest. You have faced the trial of essence, the Emperor said, and you did not break. A beam of shimmering light struck Lyra's prism. The crystal shattered. Lyra Quinn fell forward, and Elias caught her before she hit the ground. Her first real breath in 220 years was a broken gasp. Elias held her gently. You're safe, he whispered. You're free. Vorash stepped closer, voice low. You have won, human. But do not celebrate yet. For victory always comes with a price. Lyra Quinn's body trembled as Elias held her. After 2 centuries of frozen awareness, her lungs fought for breath. Her fingers twitched like she had forgotten how to move, and her eyes darted around the chamber in panic. It's all right, Elias whispered. You're safe. You're back. But Lyra wasn't calm. Her voice cracked like an old radio. Don't let them take me again. Don't. Please, don't let. Her words broke into gasps. Her entire body shook. Tears ran down her cheeks, as if they had been waiting 200 years to fall. Elias tightened his grip. I won't. I promise. VYR healers rushed forward, their hands glowing with soft blue light. They scanned her body, murmuring in their strange melodic language. Emperor Vorash stood a few steps away, watching silently. His expression was unreadable, part curiosity, part ancient disappointment, part something deeper that humans could never understand. When Lyra's breathing finally steadied, Vorash spoke. It is done. The trial has been honored. The prisoner is free. He turned slightly, eyes narrowing. But hear me, Captain Ward. One life you saved. One future you closed. Elias didn't look away. It was the right choice. Vorash tilted his head. Perhaps. Or perhaps you have simply chosen a different kind of destruction. The air grew cold. You will leave my dominion now, Vorash continued. The VYR will offer no alliance for 1,000 cycles. Your species will walk alone. Mira, who had stood frozen until now, stepped forward angrily. You would punish billions because one man showed mercy? Vorash's eyes glowed. Mercy is not the crime. Insolence is. Cade clenched his fists. Then call it what it is. You're angry a human beat your precious trial. The guards stepped forward instantly, their bodies flaring bright crimson. Elias raised a hand. Enough. We're leaving. He turned to the healers. Is she stable? One nodded. Her mind is fragile. She remembers everything. The freezing keeps consciousness intact, but it distorts time. For her, centuries felt like a long nightmare. Lyra whispered, still feels like it. Elias squeezed her hand gently. You're not alone anymore. Vorash watched them closely. You showed strength, human. But strength without wisdom is a dangerous path. Elias met his eyes. Wisdom is choosing what kind of species we want to be. Vorash almost smiled. Almost. Go. Before I decide to change the terms. The return to the horizon. Escorted by VYR guards, the humans left the palace halls. The corridors no longer felt beautiful. They felt like the veins of a giant creature that could swallow them whole. Hannah walked beside Lyra, supporting her weight. We'll get you checked on the ship. Earth medicine is far better than it used to be. Lyra stared ahead blankly. Earth still exists. I wasn't sure. It does, Hannah said softly. And it hasn't forgotten you this time. Lyra didn't speak again. When they stepped onto the HSS Horizon, the airlock closed behind them with a heavy thud. Mira leaned against the wall, finally letting out a shaky breath. I thought we were going to die back there. Kate exhaled. Yeah, same. Elias turned to them. We made it out. That's enough for today. Lyra looked at the ship's clean metal walls, the soft lights, the humans moving with purpose. Her voice was barely a whisper. It feels strange. Everything is too bright, too loud. Hannah touched her shoulder gently. You'll adjust. We'll help you. Elias nodded. You're part of this crew now. Lyra blinked, processing the word crew like it was from another language. Crew, she repeated softly. I remember having one once. Her face crumpled slightly, but she stayed standing. The Emperor's last word. Just before the horizon undocked, a final transmission appeared on the bridge. Emperor Vorash's glowing face filled the screen. Captain Elias Ward, he said. You have my respect and my curiosity. Few beings choose burden over power. You did. Elias answered calmly. I did what humanity should have done 220 years ago. Vorash's eyes narrowed, amused. Perhaps one day your species will rise strong enough to meet us again as equals. But for now, you walk your own path. The transmission ended. For a few seconds, no one on the bridge moved. Then Elias spoke. Take us home. The horizon pulled away from the citadel. As the alien palace shrank behind them, Lyra watched it disappear through the window, eyes hard and cold. 2 centuries stolen, she whispered. But not broken. She turned to Elias, voice steady for the first time. Thank you for not forgetting me. Elias nodded. We don't leave our own behind. Lyra took a long, shaky breath. Then maybe, she said quietly, I can learn how to live again. The horizon jumped to FTL, leaving the ancient empire behind them, choosing a harder road, a human road, a road with no guarantees. But for the first time in 220 years, Lyra Quinn wasn't alone. And Elias Ward felt something he hadn't felt since he left Earth. Hope. The HSS Horizon broke out of FTL near Earth. Blue oceans glowed beneath swirling white clouds. The sight usually filled Elias Ward with calm pride, but today he felt only the weight of what awaited him. Lyra Quinn stood beside him on the observation deck. Her steps were steadier now, her breathing calmer, but her eyes still carried deep shadows. "It looks different," she whispered. "It's been 200 years, Elias said gently. "It's grown, and it's struggled." Lyra pressed her hand to the glass. "I never thought I'd see home again." He didn't say it out loud, but he had wondered the same. The inquiry. Earth Command wasted no time. The moment the Horizon landed, Elias was summoned. His crew tried to follow, but guards blocked them. Inside the hall, a panel of stern officials waited at a long table. Cameras recorded every second. The world was watching. The lead official spoke sharply. "Captain Ward, you refused a historic alliance. You rejected healing technology. You turned down protection for our colonies. And you returned only with a single woman from a mission long forgotten." Another official leaned forward. "Explain why." Elias stood tall. "Because we don't trade our people. Not even for salvation. Not even for an empire." Murmurs spread through the room. A third official asked, "You risked billions for one human life?" "No," Elias said firmly. "I risked billions for the idea that human life is not a bargaining chip. If we give up that idea, we lose ourselves." Silence followed. Heavy. Electric. The officials whispered among themselves. Then the lead speaker finally said, "Public opinion is divided. Many see you as reckless, but many more see you as a symbol of what humanity must never forget." The tone softened. "You will not be punished." Elias blinked. He hadn't expected mercy. In fact, the official continued, "Your actions have inspired a movement. People demand we stand by our values, even when the cost is great. For this reason, Earth Command is offering you a new assignment." A screen lit up behind them. A new ship appeared. Sleek. Strong. Human-made. HSS Dauntless. Deep exploration vessel. "You will command her," the official said. "Your mission, map the unknown. Build alliances on our terms. Not as beggars, but as equals." For the first time in days, Elias exhaled with relief. Lyra's choice. After the hearing, he found Lyra in a quiet medbay room. She sat by the window, watching drones fly across the spaceport. "You're free, Lyra," Elias said softly. "No more cages. No more fear. Whatever life you want, it's yours." Lyra looked at him. Really looked. Past the uniform, past the title, into the man who had risked everything for her. "I want to help humanity move forward," she said. "But this world, it doesn't feel like mine yet." Elias nodded. "It doesn't have to be. You can take your time." Lyra hesitated. Then she stood, softly but with growing strength. "Take me with you," she said. "To the Dauntless. I don't want to hide in museums or labs. I want to see the galaxy I lost. I want to learn again. Explore again." Elias smiled gently. "Then welcome to the crew, Commander Quinn." For the first time, she smiled back. The new beginning. Weeks later, crowds gathered to watch the launch of the HSS Dauntless. Children waved flags. News drones hovered like fireflies. People cheered as Lyra Quinn walked onto the bridge. A legend returned from the dead. Elias took his seat in the captain's chair. Lyra stood beside him, wearing a new uniform, confidence slowly returning to her posture. "Ship status ready," she reported. Elias nodded. "Course." Lyra tapped the star map. "Beyond the Perseus Drift. No one has been there. Completely uncharted." "Perfect," Elias said. "A road no one has walked." The engines warmed. The ship hummed with new life. "Take us out," Elias said. Lyra smiled. "With pleasure, Captain." The Dauntless rose from Earth's surface like a silver arrow. Boosters fired. The ship climbed through clouds, past the atmosphere, and into the deep, dark ocean of stars. People around the world watched the live broadcast, hearts swelling with pride. Humanity had chosen a harder path, without shortcuts, without alien gifts. But it was their path. The Emperor watches. Far away, in the shimmering depths of the VYR Dominion, Emperor Vorash stood in his throne chamber. A hologram of the Dauntless played before him as the ship vanished into FTL. He watched silently, his ancient eyes glowing with something rare. "Respect. Strange humans," he murmured. "Weak in power. strong in spirit. Lyra Quinn's empty crystal prison still lay at the corner of the room, a reminder of a challenge no species had dared attempt in centuries. Vorash turned his gaze toward the stars. Perhaps, he said softly, we will meet again, not as ruler and supplicant, but as equals. The final note. As the Dauntless sped into the unknown, Lyra stood beside Elias, watching the stars stretch into light. Captain, she said quietly, do you ever wonder if we made the right choice? Elias looked out at the endless void. Every day, he said, but the right path isn't the easy one. It's the one we can live with. Lyra nodded slowly. Then let's see where it leads. Together, they faced the galaxy. A new chapter, a new hope, a new human way.